Do you have regrets buying gold and silver? Perhaps you have regrets of not buying enough gold and silver, like in the days when it was very cheap to buy an ounce of gold for £1,000. I know I have regrets, and I want to talk about them here today and how we manage them and how we can learn from them to make better decisions when buying gold and silver. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and welcome to another Precious Metal Ramble. So today I want to talk about human emotions when it comes to gold and silver, buying and selling regret. Do you have it? Have you had it in the past? Is it a big factor to actually make things worse for you when buying gold and silver? If you are regretting not getting more and then you go back and get some more and then, hey, oh dear, you are in over your head. It's a very common thing with stackers new and old. So I want to share some of my insights on this whole topic. I think it's a really important one that a lot of people actually gloss over, because the luxury in life of being able to afford to buy gold and silver is one not to be overstated. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who will see beautiful shiny things on YouTube, my channel and others as well, and they'll hear all about the absolute wonders and potential for it, and then they might go down that rabbit hole and end up having to sell at some point. And then you have double regret. You regretted that you didn't buy more at the start, so you bought more, and then you have to sell because for whatever reason you are needing to, and then you lose a lot of money, so you will then have this huge regret and loss, and everybody will just be really sad about the situation. It happens way more than you think, and if you're sitting there in the background going, that's not me, and well, that's great, but there are a lot of people in this world who will buy for the first time, not really understanding the full market of this whole world. So definitely an interesting topic. So before we crack on, a quick reminder for all the YouTube jazzy things, like hitting the like button if you enjoy and the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Otherwise, let's dive in. So I'll talk from my own personal experience. Do I have any buying regrets? Certainly when it comes to not buying more. Yes, when you look back with hindsight, and hindsight is a really dangerous thing when it comes to any kind of investment, but gold and silver especially so in my opinion. Now, when you've been in this game a while, you'll start to realise that there are potential big windfall gains that you can make across a long period of time. Now, it's all relative, of course. You've got to remember that there is this thing called inflation, and the value of your currency will change as well. So the fact that I have a gold coin here on the table that I paid £1,015 for is all well and good, but just look at how that price has compared with now, and how money has compared with between 2017 and now when I bought this coin. So it's a difficult one to look at. When you look at the pure maths of it and you go, well, this is a great coin, I could sell this right now for £1,550, let's call it, and make a huge profit. Yes, I could, but is that money really a massive profit? The regret comes in me going, well, I should have just taken every single penny I had and put it into gold in 2017, because I would be quids in. I would have a lot more money if I sold it all right now than I did back then. But you have to have a balance, don't you? We can't all just go and rush out and buy every single pound and penny's worth of our money into one particular asset. That is the biggest recipe for disaster that anybody can do. But unfortunately, with the way the world is, and this is one of my biggest gripes with the whole YouTube landscape of gold and silver and how it's evolved and changed over the last 5, 6, 7 years as well, is that there is this big agenda, this big push for gold and silver being the only thing that you can possibly fathom being good. And there have been ups and downs with gold and silver, and that has caused a lot of pain and regrets for a lot of people. But this whole agenda of pushing as much as possible to get as much as possible as soon as possible is, in my opinion, not a particularly healthy one, and it's certainly something that I think has yielded quite a lot of disenfranchised silver stackers, let's call it. There are a lot out there. Whenever I talk about silver here in the United Kingdom with our taxes and premiums that you pay on silver, and then of course things caught up in America with premiums, maybe not so much with taxes, but the premium you were paying on silver was huge. And the fact that you would pay for something and pay 30, 40, 50% premium on something, only to know that if you needed to sell it quickly, you'd be taking a 50% cut on your investment. That's certainly yielded a huge amount of disenfranchised silver stackers out there. Compounded with the fact that because we've been told silver is so amazing by so many different sources, including sources, by the way, have vested interests in telling you that it's amazing, you then have these regrets that silver didn't go to the moon and hasn't given you the returns that you wanted it to do. So regrets are a big thing, and from my perspective, I do somewhat regret not buying more when I had opportunities to buy more, but you can't live with those regrets. It's really dangerous, it's really difficult, and those regrets then follow through, because now we're in a situation where I personally do think silver is undervalued. That's not me pumping it and saying that you should run out and buy as much gold and silver as you can physically possibly do right now, but I do genuinely think silver is an undervalued asset, and I think it has got room to grow. When it will grow is anybody's guess, and I do not know when that will happen. It is going to be a tough old road ahead for silver and gold, but I do think if we're having this conversation again in 6 years' time, 6 years have passed since I bought this gold coin here for 1015. Where will gold price be in 6 years' time? I think it will be considerably higher than it is right now, but how much higher, I don't know, and the same can be said for silver. So the regrets that I have of not buying more back in 2017 transpose into today's thinking, and you think, well, if I should have done it then, I didn't, so now I'm going to do it now. But again, you have to have this rational head on top of those shoulders to say, actually, is going really all in is it risky? Is there associated risk with it? And that's what they call the fiduciary responsibility. You have a fiduciary responsibility to yourself. I just wanted to be able to say fiduciary in one of my videos. But you do have to have a good think about that long term, how it's going to affect you if you don't have that cash, and what potentially you could get in other avenues of investments. There are plenty of different avenues that yield better results than silver. Even just having cash right now, as much as some people might hate the idea of having fiat money, it actually can outperform silver in the short term. So you can get easily, in the United Kingdom right now, there's a 6.2% savings account, 1 year fixed bond with NS&I, National Savings and Investments. It's government backed, and you can get 6.2% return on your money. So if you put your, let's just do maths, £100,000 into some silver, are you going to get 6.2% in a year? Probably unlikely, certainly if you buy physical and then have to sell it and try and get the premiums back, etc., etc. If these interest rates, of course, the factor in is inflation, whether or not inflation will, reduce the value of that £100,000 over the course of the year. But the point here is still, you'll be up compared with buying silver. So silver as a savings mechanism is pretty awful, quite frankly, in the short term. It's the long term that has that potential. But the buy price is the most important thing when buying things like silver and gold. Can you get them at a decent premium? Buying from dealers, I've talked about that a lot. I think it's not worth doing. I think if you're going to buy silver, you want to look to buy it from second-hand sources, peer-to-peer networks. I run one with the Backyard Bullion Buyers Club. We sell silver at £23-24 an ounce right now, which is so much less than the huge prices from the dealers. So it's a difficult one. It's hard. Now that comes to the second part of the video, which is selling remorse. And I have mentioned it in the first bit there, where maybe some people in this world have fallen down rabbit holes and they've gone and bought an awful lot of silver. They then need to sell it. The real world catches up to them. Perhaps they want to buy a house. Perhaps they need a new car or a boiler, or something breaks in their life and they need to replace it. And they need to sell those bits of silver. It's a harsh reality, and I've seen it countless times. I've seen it before through my buyers club. I have people who get in touch and they need to sell. And I had a gentleman not that long ago who tried to sell privately. He had no social media profile, no sort of contacts within the industry or anything like that. He just put some things up for sale. Nobody wanted to buy. He was not horrendously priced either on the various platforms that he put it up for, but nobody wanted to buy from just Mystery Joe blogs. So he got in touch with myself, and we took the silver he had and sold it all within a few hours. And he then came around and said to me that I essentially kept a roof over his head, which is incredible. The questions here is about whether or not it's a worthwhile thing to do, and the regrets that somebody might have for getting involved in silver when they need to sell it at a certain point. In my opinion, and this is no disparaging remarks towards any individuals that I've sold silver for or may sell silver for in the future, if you are looking to get into gold and silver, I think realistically you need to factor in the idea of not selling it anytime soon. If you can hold it for 10 years, you're going to be fine. There'll be a profit there for you, in my opinion. Not financial advice, but my opinion. If, however, you're buying it and you don't have a safety net, or things change drastically in your life and that's the only avenue that you've got to get some money, you're going to be potentially in for a bit of a shock and a difficult time. Unless you've timed it well with markets going up, you could struggle to get all of your money back out or even make break-even points. So it's going to be an interesting one for some people who have bought in from the hype, for the hysteria of gold and silver. That's why I have continually tried on my channel to present a sort of more balanced view of gold and silver. A lot of people call me a hypocrite for it, and for those watching to the back end of the video, 10, 11 minutes in, I'm going to assume that you guys are not these, in my opinion, hypocritical people. They call me hypocrites, but they're hypocrites themselves, because they just like say, oh, you're saying silver's crap, but you've bought loads of silver. Yes, I think silver is crap in the short term. I think it's a liability in the short term. I think if you're buying it to flip it and sell it, it's a really hard business, and it's something that a lot of people will struggle with. But if you're buying it for the right reasons and you're putting it away for a long time, I think silver is great. I really do. But there are a lot of people who don't get that from what I say, and it could be very easy for me just to start doing all of these pumpy style videos, churning out all of this propaganda, I think, almost, and just really sharing how amazing silver is and how much potential it has. But I think it would be remiss of me, certainly with the sort of channel ethos, and can't open this capsule again, all of the sort of background that I've given throughout this 7-8 years on YouTube now. It's just not who I am. So I really do think that it is a moral imperative to highlight silver ain't great. I had another inquiry, this is a nice one as well, from somebody who was looking to get into gold or silver for the very first time, and their plan was to hold it for 2 years, sell it, make a profit, and then use that to put a deposit down on a house. And I just, this is the last thing I'll sort of talk about in this video. They were after essentially financial advice, and I'm not qualified to give financial advice. For those that don't know, in the United Kingdom at least, you have to actually be registered with various different agencies to give financial advice, because it is a regulated industry. And I'm certainly no financial advisor, and I try and put that information out there as much as possible when I make videos and content, and certainly when people inquire with me. You won't see financial advisors saying go and buy gold and silver, certainly in a short term. Maybe as part of a larger portfolio, if you were debt-free and you had lots of money to spend, it could be something they might recommend. But in general, they hate it. They don't like it. And there's a reason for that. It's because it's very, very, very risky, and you potentially will lose money. 90% of the time, I think you will lose money, certainly over a 2-year period. So my response to this person is simply, I think you need to go and have professional financial advice. And I do feel that that is a thing that is going to be the end of silver tubing on YouTube one day. I do think that there is a fine line to be given between all of the hype, the hysteria, and the realistic content types that I make, where you won't be crossing that boundary. I feel like I'm giving enough context to really say to people, look, these are the questions you need to ask yourself before going and make the decisions, rather than silver's great, go and buy it. I do think that, I know for a fact that YouTube are looking at these financial advice channels and cracking down on them, and I think it will spill over into the world of gold and silver eventually. But that's a topic for another time. Perhaps one day the apocalypse for silver and gold tubing here on this platform. But for now, at least, I can say thank you to all my ramblers for listening to the back end of the video. I would love to know your opinions. If you've got your own regrets for buying and selling gold and silver, it would be great to hear from you. If you want to find out more about my buying club, there are details in the description. You can email me. Otherwise, if you want to support our channel, head on over to backyardbullion.com, where you can find some of our products on our website. Otherwise, that's it from me. We'll see you on the next video. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.